It came there, yes. This is from Mr. Hempel. It's about soap.
That's pretty good. You're right on this time. I've avoided that, luckily.
Yeah. I think his conduct was reprehensible. I think everybody laughing at it was wrong. I know if I had said something as crude as that, I'd be handcuffs, be hauled out of here, or at least gaveled.
Probably. Probably.
Yeah, I think it's a good reminder that this isn't a bar. This isn't a family picnic. This is a boardroom. And also, there's a rumor that there's money being collected for a non-rocking chair for Mr. Hammond.
Okay, with that, we will move on to any more public comment.
I hope that you donate to that.
I will pay for it entirely.
Good girl.
Okay. So we're having too good of a time now. Let's move on to announcement items to be discussed in closed session. Mr. Egan.
Mr. Chairman, the board will be convening in a closed session for a conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D2, Government Code Section 54956.9, and for a telephonic conference with labor negotiator Rick Hague, which may include the following bargaining units: Lassen County Peace Officers Association, United Public Employees of California, Lassen County Road Workers Association, Management and Professional Association, Lassen County Peace Officers Association Supervisors Unit, Lassen County Peace Officers Association Management Unit, Lassen County Deputy Sheriff's Association, Lassen County Management Association. We will be deleting from the closed session the conference regarding Lassen County in-home supportive services public authority.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Egan. With that, we will go on to closed session. Outside,
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we pray this day for thy blessing, guide us in our conduct toward ourselves and others, that we be humble and with merit, so we not adjourn in anger. May our meeting be informative and productive. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, announcement items discussed in closed session, Mr. Egan.
Mr. Chairman, the board met in closed session for a conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D2 of Government Code Section 54956.9, and for a conference with labor negotiator Rick Hague, including the following bargaining units: Lassen County Peace Officers Association, United Public Employees of California, Lassen County Road Workers Association, Management Professional Association, Lassen County Peace Officers Association Supervisors Unit, Lassen County Peace Officers Association Management Unit, Lassen County Deputy Sheriff's Association, and Lassen County Management Association. There was no reportable action.
Thank you, Mr. Egan. Agenda approval additions and/or deletions.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to pull G2 from the consent calendar for separate consideration.
G2 for separate consideration. Anybody else? Anybody from the public have anything they would like to take separate consideration on? On the consent calendar? No, okay. That's it on the consent calendar. If you got anything you want to have separate consideration, we can. Anybody from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the deletion of item 2 for separate consideration?
I believe we passed the consent agenda with item G2.
I guess I actually don't need to do that.
Well, yeah, we're not taking it.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see that. I'm going too fast here. Okay. Agenda approval, addition, and deletion. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with the number 2 of the consent?
Mr. Chairman, I would move for agenda approval with the
Bullet G2.
holding G for right now.
For separate consideration.
Yes, for separate consideration.
And I didn't pay labor on it.
Yes, adjournment, yes.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Okay. Public comment. Do I have anybody from the public who wishes to speak? Annie?
Yes, sir.
Could come to the podium and state your name for the recorder.
And West, 3095 Wilsonville Road. I am here to ask for a meeting, and hopefully it could be with my supervisor, Chapman. I did call and ask Mr. Chapman if I could meet with him regarding the in-home support service providers issues that we have. And he informed me that it might not be appropriate since the board was in negotiations. And I received a copy of a letter that states, the letter is from our county council, that the public authority is no longer in negotiations with the in-home support service representatives. And so I'm here to request that if in-home support service providers could meet now at this point with their appropriate supervisor, we are requesting that. And so I would like to make an appointment with my supervisor, and perhaps the providers would like an appointment with their appropriate supervisor from their district.
Yeah, what's the status?
Mr. Burns, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah,
We're
I'm
just
under
under,
the impression we're still dealing with negotiations that we haven't concluded.
We did conclude very recently, and so we did not deal with that issue in the closed session agenda today. I was to postpone that until next week, so she's got ahead of us a little bit in terms of my ability to inform you in that regard. And so I certainly will never stand between a supervisor and their constituent. What I will say is that there's a formalized process under the Myers-Milius-Brown Act for negotiations to occur. And to the degree that they are a recognized bargaining unit, for negotiations to occur, it should be handled by their representative. The representative has previously been CUHW, and I think that continues. I don't think that's been formally handed off, although I think there's an effort underway to do so. So
it is in the process, I think.
Understood.
Possibly about the 1st of August.
So,
they seem to be merging.
So to the degree that discussion would contemplate negotiations between this entity as the public authority and the collective group known as the in-home support services workers, as represented by that particular union, I would have to raise my hand and say that must occur in a more formalized way now.
Well, I'm a little bit uncomfortable. First of all, I think that the key to our society is based upon if you're going to get a representative that you meet with people you represent. But at the same time, if it's a group thing where we're talking about working conditions and wages and the like and stuff, that's not, as an individual board member, all I can be is sympathetic. Okay, I can't act as on behalf of the county. I don't have negotiating authority. I'm only 1/5 of the board. When the board's not in session, I have no more power than you as an individual in the community. But at the same time, I mean, in terms of listening to what those grievances might be about how the system is or is not working, I mean, obviously that's something that every board member, I think, has to be mindful of. But if we're talking about, trying to change the system, I think that has to be done in a more formal process that's defined by law. And it has to be, I mean, the board can't just unilaterally go out there and basically cut deals to the side. I mean, it doesn't work that way. And that's what I tried to explain to Annie when she called me, and I told her that, you know, the proper way to do would be to address the board as a whole, and that's what the public podium is for. Now, we're kind of getting off of public comment, because we're not supposed to be having give and take, but I'm not quite sure how we handle that.
Well, it's quite clear in my mind, and that is this board has designated an individual to negotiate on behalf of it for purposes of the IHSS program, and that is Lee Richard Eden. And so, sorry, I'm raising your hand. So I'm happy to sit in and talk, but also the workers have designated a representative to negotiate on their behalf. And if they knew that we were to entertain a meeting to discuss negotiation, they'd come off the charts at us.
I'm really
So-
not asking to negotiate.
Sure
There's
sounds
just
like it.
issues that we have as workers, and it's not just, it has to do with how the county is functioning, because there's a level to get, a process to go through for the workers. There are a lot of issues that I've experienced in the last couple of years with my recipient, and others have too. So it's not just negotiating wages. And so there are issues that I would like to talk to the supervisor, and I know there are other workers that would like to speak with their supervisor. But if you are in negotiations, then I understand that you cannot. I accept that. But it seems that we're not. So if we've stopped negotiation, we would like to be able to speak to our supervisors.
I think if there are issues that are not involving work conditions, salary, time, place, and conditions of work that are arising, I'd be happy to meet with any of the employees as long as they don't involve those issues that are currently being or are going to be negotiated.
Well, when the board's not in session, the power of the board basically is held by the CAO and trust. So that would be maybe the more appropriate place to maybe start. Now, if indeed the issues can't be resolved, or if there are issues that are outside of the normal work place that's governed by the Myers-Brown Act that can be resolved, I mean, I think that would be expeditious in terms of doing that. So,
Well, and I think if they're, I don't know what the issues are. If the issues are such that they require board attention, then I can bring them in the appropriate
Bring them back.
form, whether that's
put it in
closed
an
session
agenda
or.
form and bring it back for the board to address in a full session. And that's really kind of how the system is designed to work.
So
maybe that
rather
would
than
be-
to approach the
I
board,
think
perhaps
maybe
Mr.
that would be a good way to get started, and it would also be expeditious, because I'm actually going to be gone the next 2 weeks on vacation, so I wouldn't be able to maybe have that sit down with you or anyone until I got back. So I think if Mr. Egan could take care of that, Mr. Chairman, I think that might be a good way to get started.
Let's do that, Annie. Meet with
Yeah.
Mr. Egan.
Thank you very much.
And he can keep the board appraised that way.
Oh.
2518333.
Okay.
Just go.
Anybody else wishing to speak, get public comment?
We would like to, please.
Okay, lady here.
Yes, I'm Pam Stewart, and this is my aunt and uncle, Mr. and Mrs.
I'm Marvin McInnes. I live at 1219 North Street.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a hell of a problem down there. We got a flood problem. I give these maps to Lino years ago. I've got pictures of the creek that's a jungle. Water couldn't get down there if it wanted to. And they got trees this big inside there.
Is this the city limit?
Huh?
Yes, it's in front of the park.
Yeah, but that's part of
It's
it.
a city issue, I think, not a county issue.
I can't hear you.
This is a city issue, not a county issue.
This is?
And this would have to be taken up with the city council and with the city public works department, because we don't have jurisdiction to be able to.
We don't have jurisdiction inside of the city limits. Southernville is an incorporated city. They got their own city council. Actually, you have to go to the city council, not the board of supervisors.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to work with you to connect.
Yeah,
with
I've
the
got,
city
well,
like that.
Well, that would be
enough
good.
of the drain above us. It was plugged up, and they put a new drain in. And I don't know if they found the pipe. They said they couldn't find the pipe, but evidently they did because they did something.
Why don't you get together with Jim and
Yeah.
you connect you with the city?
We'll work with you to get, because that
Are
would
we
be
talking to the
something.
Public Works Department up there on South Street?
Right.
Yeah.
I know the guys up there, so we can go
Yeah,
up there
I
and
mean,
see them.
that would be, talk with Dan Newton,
Yeah.
and with those folks would be, that would be a good starting.
Yeah. We weren't sure where we
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
to necessarily just.
This is my first time. I can't speak anyways.
I know you did good, because you came here and made us all aware, and you'll get it on. So.
Well, I figure they spend millions on swimming pool and stuff like that. We're the taxpayers. We're paying for all that. They
Is
should
there
protect
building
us
down
too, you know?
here?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
They're not going to do a swimming pool in the front yard.
We'll go argue with Dan. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Spencer, did you have a comment? Come to the podium, please.
At the June 23rd meeting, Mr. Hammond stated clearly that the failure of the pool JPA was the grant, the Ogles grant that the city didn't, or the JPA didn't get for the pool had nothing to do with the pool. Mr. Chapman attempted to avoid my question that when I stated the Ogles grant wasn't awarded to the JPA, that I was misinformed. In fact, he was rather emphatic that I didn't know what I was talking about. And so the letter, which I had that day, I don't know why I didn't give you, only because I only had one copy maybe. But the letter simply states that the grant was, in fact, for the swimming pool, and they were relying on that for construction. So I'm going to challenge Mr. Hammond and Mr. Chapman when they want to make up things or just can't tell the truth about it. But they were both there. I was at the meeting, they were at the meeting. And in fact, the newspaper wrote an editorial about the same subject. Unfortunately, and it says, quote, "Unfortunately, the city recently found out a grant proposal for the state funds for the project has been denied." So in fact, they did rely on that money. And I would suggest, I don't know whether this board appoints, but I would suggest that at least Mr. Chapman be replaced from the JPA. We actually have records of him missing more than 50% of the meetings last year, and it's caused with his diatribes a lot of delays in the process. He does what he does here at the JPA meeting. So I don't know whether it's possible to replace him, or maybe it's time to do a switch of both of them and have two other members of the board sit on the JPA. But it's really probably coming close to being necessary, just for fresh thoughts and fresh minds, so the JPA can, this pool JPA can move forward. And I don't like this, but at the bottom of here, I was hesitant to reading it, but it says, "When is it a good time to lie, Mr. Hammond and Mr. Chapman?" And the comment was never. So maybe we could look forward to maybe present a little more factual
Okay,
information.
thank you for your comment. If you guys want to comment, I would advise doing another agenda item. Anybody else in the public wish to speak? Seeing none, we will move on to unagendized reports by board members. Start with Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't had anything to report other than to encourage everybody to attend and participate with the fair. Given the just delivered ad hominem attack by Ms. Spencer, the only thing I would say is, first of all, I think her facts are grossly inaccurate. She represents that the $1.1 million that the city is going to be contributing to the pool project was based upon this grant application, and the two had nothing in common. The JPA was applying for this grant above and beyond the contributions that the city and the county have committed to make in forming of the JPA. So I think the misrepresentation of the facts speak for themselves. I'm not going to step down from that board or this board to satisfy Mrs. Spencer and talk about behavior and misrepresentations and outright lying. I don't maintain a website that spews the garbage that she spews about everything and anything, and she's the expert on everything if you read her particular website. And I would recommend those people who don't want to waste their time that that's not a worthy thing to do. So with that, I'll leave it. I think Mrs. Spencer's constant involvement, she was labeled by the courts as a vexatious litigant, and she has risen to the art, her ability to disrupt public meetings. And to be honest with you, a lot of people are getting kind of tired of it, and she will eventually, I guess, take care of herself. So we'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Mr. Alba?
Yeah, I too would like to encourage everybody to go to the fair this week and check out all the hard work and all the kids and adults and groups and organizations that get together.
But your kid's not showing this year. So the fair's not the same.
Sorry, they'll be down for the horse show after.
Okay.
And also, one of the reasons I won't be at the fair is in Aden this year, it's the, I don't know, I think it's be about the 6th or 7th year that the Golden State Star Party will be up there, group of astronomers that be up there looking at the dark skies and looking at the stars. Then the only other thing I have to report, I don't know if anybody down here is sure about it or not, but the Indian reservation, the XL reservation up there in Modoc County, they had a great big, huge grow houses up there. Anyway, they got raided here this last week. Said some kind of makes a lot of that project temporary now. Anyway, it's everywhere. And even though they were a sovereign nation, I thought they were kind of mean with the term.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mento?
I too would like to encourage everyone to go to the fair. It's kind of neat. I was down there last night getting the poultry and rabbit barn put together, and it's just neat how the whole community will come together when something needs done. That's what the fair is about. And I'm proud to be part of Lassen County, proud to participate in that.
Mr. Hammond?
Supervisor Chapman, Supervisor Hemphill, myself, and Richard attended the change of command. Wonderful ceremony. And I spoke at length with the incoming Lieutenant Colonel about strengthening relationships with our county, and we're headed in that direction. But it was well worthwhile to go to that change of command.
It was kind of sad to see Colonel
Lassen go. Yeah.
They change about every 2 years, don't
2
they?
years.
They do every 5 years.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to information and consent calendar. We need a motion to approve all but D2.
Move.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The ayes have it. G2, Mr. Egan.
Before Mr. Egan does that, I'm going to excuse myself from this particular item since Chamber of Commerce is applying.
Okay, Jim. Richard?
Mr. Chairman, the Chamber of Commerce made a request to support their effort in the America's Best Communities Contest, which is an effort they've been involved in for about a year, maybe a little longer. Their initial request was for $6,000. They need, Tony can help me out with the exact numbers here, they need
15,000
15,000 to match the 65,000 that's being offered through the program. Their initial request, like I said, was $6,000. They then revised that to $5,000. I received an email from Patty at the Chamber late last week reducing that request to $4,000 because they've had such a response from the community and service organizations, City of Susanville and others. So they only need $4,000. The reason that I asked to be pulled from the consent calendar is that we would like to reduce the amount to $4,000 from $5,000. So I think that's a pretty good testament to their program that they've had such a good response. have reduced their request twice.
And if we come out of the budget 100 or 0101?
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I got a couple, they say talking about the contest sponsors and $15,000 from our corporate.
And crisp burger, melted jelly with crispy hash brown and an egg.
I mean, how does,
Tony may be able to address that. I'm not real familiar with how the GoPro is involved in.
Welcome, Tony.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Tony Shaw, your Deputy County Administrative Officer. So the corporate sponsors were selected by random, and the Lassen County Chamber ended up with GoPro. Frontier Communications gathered up the different sponsors for that program.
It's a Frontier deal. I looked it up the other day.
Yeah.
And it's Frontier, Dish Network, and CoBank
I think that's
are
correct.
the principal sponsors of this deal, and an odd how it's all in the mix of the thing, because services are telephone out here.
so if they win this contest, the chamber would get $3 million.
Yeah, the chamber's the applicant, so yes.
And then how would the chamber can decide how to, I mean,
That's
is there a criteria with how they have to spend that money, or?
That's this stage of the program, is developing how they would use the.
Well, how do you spend that?
Yes, for economic redevelopment. Yeah.
Are we working with the county and the city on that, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Tony's been heavily involved in the effort, as has the city and a lot of community members.
And just out of curiosity, how come, Lassen County or the city of Susanville is the only one in California?
So the,
Go, please.
okay, so do you mind if I just explain the process?
No, go ahead, Tony.
Okay, so it's open to private, nonprofit businesses like the Chamber of Commerce to apply for this grant program. So the public agencies weren't able to participate. And so in the initial application, the Chamber of Commerce developed an application based on the county's economic development strategy that was approved by the board, I believe in 2013, is that correct? And so there was, I think, around 400 applicants, and Frontier, I think, selected the top 142, and the Lassen County Chamber was in that mix. Now they're in the quarterfinals, and if they are successful in winning the quarterfinals, they go to the semifinals, and the semifinal prize is $100,000. And then if they apply, then they have to resubmit for the $3 million prize. And they use the $100,000 to develop that application for the $3 million prize. And this is all organized by Frontier Communications. So the role of the county is to help provide information and resources. But the actual selection of what the chamber wants to do for economic revitalization is a chamber decision.
So how much more money is this going to cost us, provided that they keep going, that they can have to come back?
I only have information on this stage. They have a budget of $65,000 to spend. That includes the award from Frontier Communications and the matching funds. If they do win on this stage and they go into the $100,000 round, I don't know. It hasn't been released by Frontier what the matching fund requirement will be for that portion of the grant program. May I answer your questions?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
You still got that look in your eye.
Right, Ken.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you,
Right,
Tony.
Ken.
Okay, any more discussion? From the public, Mr. Spencer?
I honestly have never heard anything so stupid and such a waste of money. It baffles my mind, because you're going to spend all this money. It benefits the county zero. The $4,000, the $100,000. It's the most stupid program I've ever heard. come out of any presentation except for the Christmas tree that you gave $5,000 to. The chamber is a private nonprofit company. To come here and take this type of money, it's stupid. I mean, it's just stupid. It's a stupid idea. The contest idea for the grant, the whole thing sounds really...
Thank you for your opinion, but I strongly disagree with you that it's all about economic development for the community.
I don't think so.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Are we going to get a copy of what they come up with?
Do you have a motion to...
Well, I move we donate money to the chamber. I mean, they come out of so 6 and down to 4.
$4,000. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You opposed. We have 1 opposition, 3 for. Okay. That takes care of the okay, we'll go to page 1.
Mr. Chairman, we have several budget items coming forward to you today. The first 2 dealing with the fair. And the first item is a request to approve the fiscal year 15-16 partial budget for the fairgrounds. As you know, that this is prior to the overall county budget being adopted. This will allow for their expenditures.
Commissioner, remind me why we get all these budgets separate and not get in the budget process and be approved on a budget.
Well, these will be incorporated in the final budget recommendation that's made in August. The reason that we're doing these now is to allow the expenditures prior to the adoption of the final budget. And they're different than the preliminary budget, which was adopted last month. With the exception of item 2 is a little different. So we can take these one at a time. Morgan's here to answer any questions.